3 days. I'm going to try keep it to 60 minutes for this session to really get into how can you step into blooming authentically and thriving financially. For me, this is such a topic that I am so passionate about, and I'm going to tell you a bit more about my story in a minute and why I'm so passionate about this topic. But for you, I want you to be grounding yourself and arriving in this moment to know that everything can change from this point onwards. And I don't say that lightheartedly. I say that because, first of all, my whole life changed when I attended something like this in the past. But also I've been on the journey with a lot of people that have really transformed their lives. And this was the starting point. So if you enter this space thinking, oh my God, this can change everything, then I think your expectation brings a lot. So I really encourage you guys to do that. So this is an intimate, as you can see, I'm really invested in creating a boutique experience for people. I'm not really interested in you feeling like there's hundreds of thousands of people on this call. It's really about keeping things tight and intimate so I can actually be on the journey with each one of you. Immersive, because I think that the amount of value that we're packing into these 3 days is quite immense. It's also quite a lot of knowledge and information and research based that really, it's going to get you to start thinking differently. So the idea for this is that we want to expect that it's life-changing, but also get immersed in it. And then also I want to, over the next kind of few slides, I want to set the scene and the aim of how each day is going to be, what you can expect, so that you can really get yourself set up to win over these 3 days. So blooming authentically and thriving financially. Even the name for me, it's spring here. I'm in Melbourne, Australia. And that whole concept of blooming, we've been through a bit of a tough winter. We've been in lockdown. And it's just that idea of this re-emerging. But I think it's important, even at this time, how are we re-emerging? And are we giving ourselves the space and time to think about that? And can we actually entertain the idea of blooming authentically and thriving financially? It's nearly like our brain nearly gets clapped out by going, oh, I'm not even sure if this is possible. And this is what I want to get. This tantalizing thought is what I want to really play with today. So over these 3 days, we're going to explore what it takes to level up your situation, whatever that means for you. For some of you, it will be financially. For some of you, it will be more about being more authentic. For some of you, it's a combination of that. To have integrated success, we'll be talking more about what that means as well, while being you and having a bank account that reflects freedom too. So day 1 is today, and really what we're honing in on today is helping you guys to understand why it's so important to have a vision and to help you gain clarity on what that looks like for you. That's why the pen and paper is so important today. But also realizing that we don't want to just be in one area of your life. I know a lot of people who have a lot of money, but I also know a lot of people who have a lot of money but are missing other areas of their life. So I'm looking for really teaching you guys how can we have integration on all levels. Day 2 and day 3 are also going to be super jam-packed with value. I was saying to Maddie's here. Some of you guys might not have met Maddie, but Maddie's behind the scenes with everything that we do at Spritz. Hi, Maddie. So you'll probably be hearing from her more as well over these 3 days. But what we were saying with this event, it's I think I have to nearly cut it down because there's so much content that we put together to share with you guys that I just don't want to go over time for you so that you can get back to life. But anyway, here we go. So day 2 is tomorrow. Tomorrow morning we'll be back on this exact setup like it is right now with Zoom and with Facebook. And with day 2, we're going to be exploring really what is the reasons why we keep getting the same results, understanding it, but really bringing in science like neuroscience and really looking at behavioral paradigms and personality traits and how is it all being accumulated, but also how can we change it. And then tomorrow evening, we're going to have a fireside Q&A with me where it's really kind of off the cuff. You can ask anything and I'll explain to you how you can submit your questions to that today as well. And then on the 3rd day, we're really looking at how can we bring it all together. So the 3rd day is really the how-to of today and tomorrow. So these 2 days are really about thinking about what you want, getting clarity, understanding why it's been a challenge so far. And day 3 is how can we bring it all together? So hopefully that all makes sense to you guys so far. Awesome. Okay. So this is, I suppose, a bit of a from my heart to yours moment. I was preparing for today and I feel so strongly about this topic. And I think it's mainly because of this. I spent a decade of my life, and I feel so fortunate to have done so, immersed in palliative care. And for those of you who don't know what that is, Palliative care is when someone's been diagnosed with an incurable condition and the approach to their care is really focused on quality of life. But usually at that point, their life is limited in some way, usually from a time point of view. So we sometimes give people diagnoses and things like that, and prognosis, which means, how long have you got left? And over that decade of being immersed in palliative care, for some people it's like, oh my God, that's so sad. But actually, my experience of the whole thing was very, very different. There was moments where it was sad, of course, but it was also the most empowering, and I feel accelerated nearly like my wisdom and my insight into life, because every day my job was to sit down with people and ask them, what is important now? What's important in your life? What have you been doing that you don't want to be doing anymore? And how can we make a plan to actually make this happen? And the sad part about it was that so many people would come with things of sometimes regret of not trying something, not doing something, not traveling somewhere, not saying something, not trying out something, not starting that business, not going for it. And what I would realize over time was like, we've got this whole life thing wrong. Like, we've been born into this world where we take for granted that we have time. And unfortunately, for so many of us, it's not going to be the story that we think. Like, there's a huge percentage of the population that don't live till they're 80, 90, 100, even though we wish everybody could. So I really took that moment and I sat and thought about it, and I thought, what am I doing with my life? And am I living fully? And am I feeling alive on a daily basis? And as much as I was making a difference and I was loving what I was doing from a career point of view, there was limitations to that, and limitations to what I was able to do on a long-term basis, financially, from a creative point of view, and from an impact point of view. So I really went on this deep dive in personal development and started asking, like, why am I here? What's it all about? And it took me on this amazing journey. This all started, it actually probably started before I even came to Australia, which was 11 years ago. And it just made me stop and think, what are we doing? And I think for those of you who are here, you're drawn here for a reason. I never believe that anything happens by coincidence. I think it all happens on purpose. So maybe today is part of the reason that you're here, is for this bit of a wake-up call, for this shake to say, life is precious. And if we don't stop the race and the doing and the busyness of getting caught up in what we just do day in, day out, then we never give ourselves a chance to actually think, are we doing this the way we want to do it? Are we living life the way we want to live it? And unfortunately, for so many people, the only time they really stop and think about it is when they hear that news from the doctor that says things aren't looking good. But my aim and my mission and my absolute purpose in life is to get to people earlier, when they're young and well and fit, and they have the capacity to now change the story. So this is why we're all here together. And I wanted to just give you a bit of an idea of, when I made this decision, I decided, okay, well, I had to step away from a career that I built. I'd moved to the other side of the world to pursue it. My family were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not really sure, but I just feel like there's something greater that I can do, and I can help people in a more impactful way earlier in life, so that we're not talking about regret. We're talking more about ticking things off and getting things done and having fun while we do it, right? So I wanted to share with you guys, I suppose, the difference this has had in my life, because I think sometimes it's all great to talk about that, but I've also had to follow through and be an example through my actions and my results. And I really live a life where I don't think anyone's ever at the end. And I think that's part of today's lesson, is to learn that this is all a journey, but I'm definitely in my authentic power, and I definitely have financial freedom. And whatever that means for you, I really think that it's all achievable. So some of the things that's helped me with, and some of the things that I've been able to do because of this, have been pretty exciting. So I started Spritz Mindset. That was my baby, and it still is, in 2017. And we grew to a bigger business per month in 9 months, which was such a surprise to me at the time. But also just such an example of what's possible. I have no business experience. I did not know what I was doing. I just had this burning desire inside of me where I was like, we just need to get out and wake people up and show them a way and give people a step-by-step process and hold people's hands on the journey. And I'll explain to you why those two parts are so important in a minute. I now have the privilege of working in a groups environment, but also one-to-one with people as an empowerment and communication coach. It's funny, I can't even say that. Well, for aspiring high achievers. I have had clients on the 5 continents of the world. I've really also invested in myself and learned from the best in the world in this area. So I've worked very closely with Bob Proctor over the last 6 years or so. I've also had the privilege of attending conferences with Esther Hicks, a retreat, Brene Brown retreat, and I've also in the middle of coaching with Neil Donald Walsh. And if none of this makes any sense to you, it's totally fine, because I didn't know any of those names before I started this journey. But if you're into personal development, you'll know that these people are real leaders in this space. I've had the benefit and I suppose absolute joy of being part of like international stages and being able to speak in different forums. And also really getting into corporations and talking to teams about what's important and getting people to stop and think, and really, what are we doing here? I've facilitated retreats in Spain and also in New South Wales in 2021, which was, I think, a miracle. We fitted one in before we got into lockdown. And I've also, in the last 12 months, been the national coordinator for the Women in Business and Leadership program for the Irish Australian Chamber of Commerce. But all of that being said, I've had wonderful times. I've flown in private jets. I've traveled for 8 months of the year when we could. The most important and powerful thing that's happened for me is that I figured out who I am. And I've learned how to stay in that integrity and earn money. And it's so simple, but I've seen it happen over and over and over again, where people feel they have to get out of integrity, out of their values, lose their sense of self, not speak up because of fear that they'll lose their job or they won't earn what they want to earn. And when you look at the research into why people stay in jobs or relationships also that are not healthy or they're not happy in, the main reason people stay in these situations is because they feel they can't afford to leave. And that for me is just really, really sad. So I'm on this mission to really help you guys by empowering you through information and understanding. I'm not here to just tell you like, oh, this is a nice idea. I want you guys to actually get it today, to understand this. So this is very educational and informative, okay, what we're going to be talking about. So let's get on with it. Before we get into really stretching into some content, I'd love to hear from you guys. I can see some of you in my little screen in the corner. Hi, Lois. Really great to have a few familiar faces. There's also lots of people I don't know. So you're very, very welcome to this space. You're very safe to be here. I have to say that. I have to say that the community that we've created within Spritz Mindset are just a group of soul warming humans. So you're very safe being here, and just know that you can't do anything wrong. But I'd just love to hear from you. So in the chat, can you just comment where you're from? And also if you can, if you know what you'd like to get out of the next 3 days, or if something comes to mind when you think about, oh, what would you actually like to get out of the next 3 days? Can you just put it in the chat box? Or if you're on Facebook, just comment below this video and let me know, what is it that you're hoping to get out of these 3 days and where are you tuning in from, just so I can see what's going on. So great to have you here, Lois. And Lois is from New Zealand. I know that one so far. Thanks for the cameras, ladies. I know it's early in the morning or in the evening time if you're in Ireland or France, or if you're in Canada, it's the afternoon. Heather's from New Zealand. Great. Hi, Zoe. Neve from Dublin. Shy on camera. It's okay, Neve. Maybe tomorrow. You're so welcome. You know, there's so much growth in turning on your camera. Not that I'm saying that you have to. I just remember I used to be absolutely petrified and I hated speaking in public and all of the things that I have to do right now, but I don't hate it anymore. I've come to realize that I have a reason to turn the camera on and be here, you know, like I want to be here with you guys so much. I mean, I would love if we were all in a room together. That would be fabulous, but this is the next best thing. Melbourne, Ireland, from Offaly, from Cork, but living in Melbourne. Irish dialing in from Melbourne, amazing. From Cork, Laois, Northern New South Wales, amazing. Canada, yes, wonderful. So good, amazing, fabulous. Melbourne, yay. Okay, take a second, because no one's written it down yet. And I think it's because sometimes we're on this race to like, give me the information. I want to know now. Teach me, teach me, teach me. Tell me how I can get the money, right? And I get it. We're going to get there. But what is it, the specifics? What is it that you're hoping to get out of this time that we have together? Just give yourself a second to think about it. And when something comes to mind, just pop it in the chat. And the reason why it's so good to think about this and share it, it's because you're kind of like, you're forecasting it. You're saying, actually, hold on, this is the specific thing that I want. Like it might be, I want to get out of debt. I want to learn how to not feel like I'm in debt anymore. I want to change the conversation in my mind so I'm not thinking of lack every time I go to buy something. I want to feel like I'm worthy of getting that promotion. Whatever it is, you know, there'll be these specific reasons what's brought you here. Would love to understand any blocks I have and how to move them to get the flow. Beautiful. So happy to be here with you. Vicky, great to be here. Thank you. I was introduced to you by my coach, Heather. Amazing. You're both in New Zealand. Amazing. So good. I want to challenge my own money story. Beautiful. That internal voice. It is the fear of having none when circumstances change. Yeah. Okay. So we want to change that story. So there's a different story going on, and we'll understand more about that as well as we go through this time together. More freedom with money, challenge my beliefs. Yeah. Increase awareness on how to grow financially. Great. Yeah. So make money while having fun along the way. That's the only way to do it. Want to get some clarity on increasing financial flow. Yes. How to attract abundance when I'm not driven by money. That's a really good one, right? Because my background is in health. I definitely didn't go into it for the money. Absolutely not. And I remember the first time someone started talking to me about money, and they were like, you know, do you have financial goals? And I was like, oh, like, you mean like a pension? Like, I just remember I was like, do you mean I'm paying into a pension? Because yeah, I am. Like, I was like so limited in how I thought about it. I was so not driven by money. Okay. Like it felt evil, to be honest. It felt like that was greedy when I started this whole journey. I was like, oh, I just want to help people. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to be greedy. I don't need lots. I'm doing okay. That's how I used to think, right? But then as you're going to learn over these 3 days, I started realizing what limitation, where else is that showing up in my life, that limited thought, and who am I not helping because of the way I'm thinking? So I really love that one, actually, Zoe. That's great. Understand how to use my happiness and purpose to attract abundance. Yeah. Well, your happiness and purpose absolutely is the right energy to get into. Change mindset for money, lose the feeling of lack of having enough, create financial freedom, to think outside the box, work, life, future. Beautiful. Yes. I'd love to understand more on any allowing block I have, particularly around money. Beautiful. Introduced to this event, come with an open mind. Great, Trish. Wonderful. Okay, I love this. Well done. Thank you. So the other thing that the more that you guys get involved and share and engage, and actually I can't see over on Facebook, maybe Maddie, can you just if anything, actually I'm wondering what I can do. Maybe I can open Facebook on my phone. I think I can. I think that's actually probably a good idea, just so I can see you guys and what you're saying over there. Enough lack of having enough. Just it's funny, I can hear myself. Okay. Oh, hi Laura, Charlene. Okay, great. And Taylor. Okay, there's a fair few people over there. So again, over on Facebook, please do comment on what it is that you want to get out of this, and I can also see that too. And the reason why I'm saying to get involved is because it gives your mind some clarity on where we're going, but it also helps me, because as you go over these 3 days, I'm only here to help you guys get out of this what you want. And when you attend live, you get such a fuller experience than you do watching back to the recording. Now, everyone who's watching back to the recording, you're very welcome. And we love that you can. And I know sometimes you can't make the calls, which is fine, but try. You know, if you're just having a sleep in, get up. Get up tomorrow and come join us, because it's a whole different experience. It really, really is. So this is great. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so before we get into like content, there's 2 things I'm going to do. Okay, they're very simple tools. but they're tools that you can bring into every time that you have to sit down to do something, or you want to kind of focus on something. So the first thing I want to do is just give you, I suppose, permission that this space is held for you to be you, for you to think, for you to feel very grounded in your sense of self. And in order to do that, one of the things that I think is really, really important is an opportunity to clear your mind. So if you have your workbook in front of you, or if you're following along the workbook, there's a prompt now to write down things that are on your mind. So you can go ahead and do it. So just give yourself a second, get your piece of paper and pen. And this is literally just pouring from your mind onto a piece of paper any thoughts that are in your mind that are keeping it full. Because what we want to do is we want to clear your mind so that you're open up with less heaviness in there to be able to hear what we're going to say moving forward. So I'm going to give you guys a minute to do that. Just take a piece of paper and pen and just write down anything that's going on in your mind right now. Maybe you have judgment of something. Maybe you've got expectations. Maybe there's something, you know, you're thinking, I need to fold the washing after this, or whatever it is. There's no right or wrong. Just give yourself a second to have a think and go for it. Amazing. Okay. And remembering as well, you don't have to remember all those things now because you've written them down, which is beautiful. Okay. So the second thing that we want to do, a lot of the time, we come with these kind of preloaded limitations. And I'm going to talk more about that tomorrow, like where these limitations have come from and how you can change them. But today, what I want to teach you is something that I learned during Brene Brown's retreat, which was really a really powerful thing, which was the idea of giving yourself a permission slip. So permission slips are a great way to identify what might get in your way and also to implement a new way of showing up. Okay. So the first step of getting started is give yourself permission. So I want you to just, with all honesty, just get a piece of paper and pen. Maybe it's in your journal, or maybe it's in your workbook, or maybe you've got like a little post-it. I got little post-its here, and just write on whatever it is that comes to mind for you. I've got some examples here. So staying open-minded, being honest with yourself, focusing on your needs. So for example, if you need to move or you need to go to the toilet, or you can turn your camera on for a while, but you can't because the kids wake up, or whatever it is, I just want you to know that you need to honor yourself. Maybe you've kind of got onto today in a bit of a flurry, but you want to say, no, tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up and give myself some time before the call, and then get on the call and just tell everyone in the house not to disturb me, whatever it is. Like just giving yourself permission, being more self-compassionate, being open. Some of you have heard me talk many, many times. And sometimes when that happens, you can come thinking, oh, I already heard a lot of this before. That can be quite limiting, because where you are right now is not where you were beforehand, the last time that you heard me. And where you will be next time won't be there either. So being really open, like what is the permission that you're giving yourself, and letting go of caring what other people think of you right now. There's a lot of Irish people here. If you're tuning in from Ireland, or you're in Australia and you're Irish, there's one thing I know for sure in our culture, and it's in Australia too, but I just feel like it's just a bit stronger in Ireland. We have been brought up and born into this world where people really care what other people think about them. And it's so crippling and so soul destroying. I can't even, like, don't get me started on it. But at the same time, you might just need to give yourself permission to not care. And the thing is that you're all here, but no one's looking at anyone else. And if you're thinking about it, you're thinking, oh, I wonder if they're looking at me. And I wonder if, but the only thing is they're all thinking the same thing, right? So it's really about going, okay, hold on, I'm coming back to my lane, and I'm going to get in my lane and put on my blinkers and stay here for these 3 days. Okay. So I really want you to check in if that's relevant for you. And if it is, give yourself permission to be here wholeheartedly as you are, in your own lane with your blinkers on. I'm not interested in you thinking about anyone else or focusing on anyone else. I just want you to show up to be here for yourself. Okay. So give yourself a second to write your permission slip if you haven't already. Yeah, Laura's saying 100%. I know. It's pretty significant. If there's one change that I like always wanted, like a seed, if I could just open people's brain and plant it, I'm like, you don't care anymore what people think of you, you know? Be free, it's okay. You know, that's what you're here to do. Anyway, we're going to get into that in a second. Okay, I'm just going to keep moving along because I've actually prepared heaps and I just realized the time. You're playing smaller, much smaller than you're capable of living, being, and achieving. And I think if we set the scene that it doesn't matter how much you've achieved, it doesn't matter how great your life is, and I'm not taking away from that. It's really wonderful that it's that way. But really, in the scope of what is possible, it's still small. And staying open to that means there's endless possibility. So that's where we really want to stay. Okay. So what does this mean for you? Blooming authentically and thriving financially. What does it mean for you? It's going to mean different things for each one of you. But really asking yourself, what does this mean for you? What does integrated success mean? And I saw in some of the comments here over on Zoom, some of you are saying things like, be happy and earn what I want. You know, how can I increase my finances but not be focused on it? How can I increase money when I don't feel like it's really important, right? Now, you might change that point of view over the next 3 days about how important it is. But also just realizing, what does integrated success look like for you? It's a really important thing to be contemplating. And there's some of the things I'm going to be sharing with you today that are more like contemplations, more so than work we're going to actually do on the call today. And what I want you to be doing is, don't just let this be an hour together. Let this be a day, the first day, where you really start considering what this means. And it might mean throughout the day you're writing in your journal, or you're going, you know, for a walk and you're thinking about it, or you're in work and you're giving yourself a few minutes to just be like, where am I going with this, and how does this feel? What did you grow up seeing when it came to money and people being truly authentic? Did you see examples of this happening? Did you see examples of people being able to be themselves and thrive financially? Or did you see examples that people who were really fully expressive often didn't earn very much? What was the pattern that you've seen growing up? And why do you think you may not have this integration yet? Okay. So these are just things to consider right now. We're going to go a bit more deep into it today, but I just really want you guys to be thinking about it. So where we want to start today is really looking at demystifying money. Money is has a very powerful influence in our society because of what we have given it. If you really think about it, like here, hold on, I think I might have some cash here. So cash, even if you think about it, cash isn't even, how obsolete is cash right now? But if you think about it, right, what is this? I always was fascinated by Australian cash when I came at the start, because I was like, it's waterproof and half see-through. But what is this? It's like a piece of paper. This is just a piece of paper. So what's the difference between this and this? It's just the value we put on this. Like if I started burning this, people would be like, oh my God, she's gone nuts. But if I burnt this, you'd be like, maybe she's releasing, let it go. But we put so much value on this piece of paper. So I want you guys to really be thinking about this, okay? There was a time before where bartering was more important. So if you had berries or if you had meat, that's what we had value on, okay? So really what it is, it's an energetic value that we put on something based on societal expectations. But I'm going to break it down into a bit more of a simpler term. Money is what we receive for our production or a service. So it's a product or a service, okay? We receive it because of those two things, and which we can then use to obtain production and service of others. So what's the key with this? It's given value based in our society. It really is. It's completely given value based in our society. It's given in exchange. It's a two-way street, cause and effect, okay? And also, importantly, it circulates. It's moving. So somewhere along the way, we got caught up in this idea that it's to have and keep. And if we hold on to it, then that means that we're doing well and this is a healthy thing. But actually, that's not how it works. Okay? Trying to grab it and hold on to it is actually limiting it, because that's coming from fear. And when we move over to understanding money more, which we're going to talk, this is going to be what we're focusing on the whole 3 days. We start realizing that the freer we can be with it, the energetic shifts that we can have around it, that's where the value really is. Okay. So money is given in exchange for 3 things. For the need for what you do. Okay. So is there a need? Yeah. Passed on from our parents. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were born into this. Okay. So it's a really good point, Natasha. This is why it's really important that there's no blame. So whatever relationship you currently have with money, whatever thought processes you currently have, whatever limitations you currently feel, when it becomes to being either authentically yourself or earning what you want, don't feel bad about it, because you're just like, and I mean this with all due respect, you're just a product of the environments that you've been in. And we're going to be talking about this more tomorrow. But just really know that it's not your fault. There's no reason to feel bad. But isn't it great that you're here? Because this is the first step to changing it. So money is given in exchange for 3 things. The need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing you. It's as simple as that. Okay. The need for what you do. So is there a need? Are you able to do it? And are you difficult to replace? And the thing is that when you really get that, then you realize, oh, wow, okay. So is there a need? Well, I would say that if you have an idea about something or you're doing something, there's a need. There's very, very few things that I've ever heard. Like, I always remember, I tell this story often. I had this client that came to me, and I remember because we were in Degrey Street in Melbourne, which is a beautiful place. And we were sitting having coffee. I was having coffee with her. It's before when we actually could meet people in real life. And I was like, what do you want to do? And she's like, I want to glorify calamari. And if you don't know what calamari is, it's like squid and it's really popular in Australia. And I'm like, what? You want to glorify calamari? Okay. It was the first time I'd ever heard, like, and so well said, like, how beautiful the idea of it. I love calamari too. And I remember thinking, wow. And then I'm thinking, is there a need for what she wants to do? Does she have the ability to do it? And is there a difficulty in replacing her? Now, she did it. She absolutely did it. She created a business where they sell calamari on sticks. It's like takeaway food. So it doesn't matter how far-fetched your ideas are or your desires are or how far they are from what you are capable of doing right now. Eventually you can learn the skill, okay? And you can develop the belief. So this is where we're really, really wanting to start this 3 days off with. So on your pursuit to earning more, it's essential to master doing so while staying in integrity. So at Spritz Mindset, I think what we do differently to a lot of other personal development approaches is that I'm not interested in you just earning a lot of money. I'm interested in you understanding who you are and staying in that, and realizing that your evolution and your authentic self-expression is as important as what you earn, and you can have both. Okay. To honor your values and authentic power. Otherwise, you will have the money, but it will be short-lived from working hard, and you will not have sustained happiness. There will be a feeling like something's missing, and this is what I want to teach you guys. There's no reason why you can't be yourself and earn what you want. Does it sound appealing? Is this interesting? Is this something? Yeah, okay. And you guys can probably tell what I mean by that difference in that. Like, there's a lot of people out there teaching about money. I mean, you can go to any amount of masterclasses on money, but that's not what we're only talking about here. We're really talking about how can you be you and be strong in that and feel really good in that and earn whatever it is that you want. Nobody can become rich, sorry, all my little things, without enriching the lives of others. Anyone who adds to prosperity must prosper in return. And it's really, really true. So a lot of what you're going to learn as you go through this journey is that, you know, givers gain, but it's coming from the right energy when you give. And we can think that we're giving from a place of non-attachment and because we want to, but there's often an undertone of expectation. like, I'll give this to you, but I'm kind of expecting this in return. And it's that undertone of expectation that's tripping us up a lot. So we're going to talk more about that too. And this is where it must start. So I want you guys to really ask yourself, when you think about wanting to be authentically yourself, blooming authentically, and thriving financially, have you made a decision that that's actually what you want? So can you comment and just say yes if you in the chat box or on Facebook? Can you just comment underneath and just let me know if you're like, I have made a decision. You may not know how, you may have no idea what you need to do, but you've made a decision that enough is enough and you're actually committed to changing. Yeah. Yeah. So the thing I love about this part is you must make a committed decision to change. You're making the committed decision to change. So I'm not saying you're making a committed decision to do, you're just committed to, I am committed to changing whatever I need to change, to do whatever I need to do to make this happen, which means you're committed to the journey. And that is the most powerful decision that you can make, because that's going to help guide you towards what needs to happen next. I'll explain to you exactly what I mean by that. Yeah, well done, Charlene. Great. Laura, wonderful. Yeah, Lois. Okay, heaps of people over here. Great, great, great. Amazing. Okay, wonderful. And sorry, I just want to say on that, if you're not committed to the change, sit with that. Why? Why are you not? Is it from fear? Like, are you afraid? Do you not really want it? Is life kind of cruisy? Because for me, my life wasn't really terrible. Okay, like there was certain things that were missing from it. But I think what I kept coming back to was like my patients that I'd seen who were like my age sometimes, who was suddenly like, you've got a terminal condition and you've got 18 months to live. And I kept coming back to that, being like, I keep thinking I have time, but what am I waiting for to be myself? And it's funny, I'm 35 this year. And I had this real funny moment before my birthday when I was like, maybe it's time to really just full on be myself. And I'm working on this like every day and showing up every day being like, am I being true to myself? Am I being true to myself? But I was like, imagine if we just like, when are you adulting enough to not care what people think about you anymore, to just 100% be yourself? Is maybe now is the time, right? Otherwise, what are we waiting for? And this is what a committed decision, Taylor, well done. This is what a committed decision is all about. There's a difference between being committed and being interested. When you're interested, you'll do what's convenient. You'll do what's easy. You'll do what feels comfortable. And when you're committed, you'll do whatever it takes. And you'll accept the results, not excuses. People who live the life that I'm going to be talking about over these 3 days are a very small percentage. Okay, but this is the difference. One group decide, maybe, and the other group are like, hell yeah, for want of better words. They're like, there is nothing stopping me anymore. I'm going for it. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm in that category, okay, and that's who I work with, and that's what I love doing. So I'm really excited there's so many of you here, okay. And at the start, I didn't feel like this. So that's the thing too, when you've been feeling a bit flat, or you've been feeling a bit like you haven't had a clear vision of where you're going, or you're not really sure about certain things, it can take a little bit to stir this energy up again, but it will, okay, it will happen. So once this happens, once you make the committed decision to change, your mind flips over to a different wavelength of thinking. It opens up to possibilities and ideas. They start entering because now they're welcomed. So once you say, I'm committed to the change, I'm actually committed to changing, to do whatever it takes that I need to do in order to create the change. It's like the universe is like, okay, this person's now open. We will now grant them some ideas. We'll give them some like coincidences, no such thing. And things will start showing up in their life because they're now saying, okay, I'm going to give this a go. But for those who say, oh no, I don't think I'm ready for change, it's like, next. Okay. So how committed to you are making these, or making this happen? So out of 10, how committed do you feel to making this change happen? Like maybe you arrived on this call and you're thinking, oh, maybe this will be like nice. But maybe now you're like, oh my God, I'm like a 9 or a 10 out of 10 or an 11. or a 50. I don't know. Or maybe you're feeling more like a 4. I don't know. It's okay. It's completely fine. There's no judgment. People are not going to be judging you. Don't care about what they think, but just comment and let me know. How much are you feeling committed to the change? 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. What about on Facebook? Hi, guys. 7. Yeah. It's good. Great. Yeah, great. Well done. Really, really good. Okay. So this is great, because the reason why I'm spending so much time on this today is because if I can get you guys to realize that you're like in and up for the change and up for this evolution, I'm going to have so much more of your attention, but also you're going to be so much more open to understanding this and getting it, right? So this is what this is all about. For those of you who are feeling committed to creating freedom of expression and a bank account to fund it, well done on making the decision. That is the turning point, okay? That's fine. You don't need to know how at this point. You absolutely do not need to know how. All you need to do is think about if you are up for it, okay? So let's get on with doing that. The relationship that you have with money runs deep, okay? And tomorrow we're going to talk about this in more detail, but I just wanted to go through some of these things to start planting the seed, because I'm seeing today is like the first day of our exploration. So your relationship with money can be assessed by looking at your thoughts about it, your self-talk about money, your feelings about money. So like, how do you feel if you think about, like, I don't know if I can rip this, can I? No, I think it's pretty indestructible. But how would you feel about, like, if I just threw this away, or if I just, how do these things make you feel? What are your habits around money, your actions, and then your results? Okay. Do you check the price before you buy something? When you're in a shop, are you like, how much does it cost before you decide if you want it or not? Do you make a decision if you want something based on your bank account? Like, I want to go on that holiday, but can I afford it? Let's check the bank balance. Do you want more, but you don't know how? Okay, you're like, oh, I'd like to have more money, but I don't know how. And then the thought goes and you move on. Okay. Did you once think that you would be happy when you had some more? Then you have it, but you're still not feeling as happy as you wish you could. That's a real one. That's a real one for any expats who've come to Australia thinking, oh, I just need to get out of this, like, not earning enough mentality. And they've come and then they've realized, oh, I've got a little bit more, but I'm still feeling this like fear in money or lack. Do you live in debt, or your family lives in debt and you don't know what you're doing wrong? Is money a taboo topic like sex or death that brings an air of discomfort when it's brought up? Like, how comfortable are you actually talking about it? Do you work hard? Are you comfortably financially but feel restricted or not fully expressive and fear the consequences of having both? Your vibration speaks louder than your words. What are you attracting? And what we can look at with that is, like, some people are like, I can bring it in, but it's going out just as quick. You know, things like that. So these are all things, again, opening your mind, expanding, like, what is your relationship with money? And maybe tonight, part of the, you know, self-reflection piece that you can do tonight before tomorrow is just actually going through and thinking about some of this. You might want to screenshot this slide, actually, because it's not in your workbook. And just really think about, like, where am I at with money? Like, if you think about money like a relationship, the same way you do if you were like in an intimate relationship with somebody, how is your relationship with money? Okay. And we're going to go into this and why a lot of people are in these situations in more detail tomorrow. Okay. Because we have to get into kind of the science behind why we are the way we are for you guys to understand this fully. Yeah. So good to have you here, Natasha. Great. Okay. So this is where most people are living. And this is why most people don't ever change the story, with all due respect. You guys are here because you're exceptional, by the way. Most people are not here, as you can tell. So I'm kind of talking to the converted already, but I just wanted you guys to really think about this one. So this is what most people do. They look at their current results. So let's just say it's their bank account. They let their bank account control how they think. And then they let their thinking control how they feel. And then they let their feelings control what they do. And then what they do creates the result, which is often the same. And then they go, oh, but maybe I'll change something, but I have to look at my bank balance before I can make a decision. And then they're surprised why they're in this circle that goes round and round and round and round and round. This is how 96 to 98% of the population are living. Okay, and I would nearly say it's probably more like 99% and 1% live differently. Can anyone relate to this? Does anyone make decisions based on looking at their bank balance? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you know, paying bills first isn't a bad idea, by the way. But yeah, what do we do with the rest of it? We're never taught to have fun with money. You know, it's so serious, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is really the thinking that I want you guys to be thinking about for a second and being like, oh, that feels a bit gross. Because of this undertone, your vision and your dreams can also be limited. So as I get you guys start thinking about the vision of where you're going, which is the whole purpose of today, you have to realize that your thought process and your imagination is limited because you may have been living in this cycle or something similar to it for a very long time. Okay. So this is really what we're looking at. Sometimes we're limited by weakness of attention. So what I mean by that is, I said it on the previous slide where I was like, oh, a thought comes where it's like, oh, I'd like to have more money. And then our attention is like, shiny next thing. So weakness of attention, we don't give ourselves enough time. It's even like on this call, have I lost you? Like, are you still listening to this? Are you still fully attentive on this call? Do you need to come back and just go, okay, hold on. I'm just in the habit of getting distracted. And at the moment in this world, there's so much stuff going on to distract us. Okay. So much. But that weakness of attention is part of our weakness in general. So we want to go, okay, how can I bring myself back on track? So come back. You're welcome. And also realizing poverty of imagination. Don't limit yourself when it comes to the dreams that we're going to be talking about today. Okay. Really get into it. This is where we want to get over into. Okay. We want to get into the state of the first step of the creative process. So there's a creative process that happens when we create everything. Okay. And the first step of this creative process is called fantasy. Fantasy is when you activate your imagination and you start thinking about what it is you actually want. It's a concept that is very helpful when it comes to thinking of prosperity, but it's something that's been suppressed in us from the moment we went to school. We're told to sit up, pay attention, and listen to what we're told. Okay. But at the same time, when you go to art class, you're asked to be, use your imagination and be curious in that space. But as adults, it's very, very, very rare that we spend time being in our fantasy, thinking about what it is that we really want. And even if you have a practice of writing about your goals and your dreams, what percentage of the day is your mind focused on that? It'll be tiny. Okay. So this is what we want to fuel this, because this is where the shift happens. As you can start using your imagination to think about fantasy, you start feeling alive. Like, who feels more alive now since they've come on this call than they did before they started? With just the ideas of maybe possibility, of possible change, of things potentially coming alive. That feeling evokes from within. Okay, we feel alive, we feel inspired, and we can take more inspired action. We actually get guided as well when we live from this place. And then we see improved results. And then what happens is we keep our mind focused on where we're going. So we're living with the end in mind. We're focusing on that rather than letting our current results dictate it. And we're going to talk more about this in a second. So in order to create change, you must open up to thinking and doing things differently. How would the person who has the goals that you want, or the vision of what you want, or the finances what you want, think, feel, and act? Is that different to how you are? And are you staying true to you? Is it inspiring or is it limiting? And are you in your own lane? I'm not interested in what Susie down the road is doing and what her house looks like and, what car she drives and blah, 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 blah. Because that, and I'm going to explain to you where that's coming from. That's not coming from a healthy place, and that's not coming from a place where you're going to find fulfillment. I want you to get into your own lane, and I literally mean within, and be like, what is important for you? Open up to the ideas of things being different. My life now, in comparison to 7 years ago, could not be any more different. Like, I feel like I quit work and I'm waiting to go. Like, I'm not that I'm waiting to go back, but when do I go back to work? Because I just haven't worked for 5 years. That's literally how I feel. Okay. But I'm free, and I don't think about, like, how are we going to pay for this or how are we going to pay for that? And I think for most of you, that will be life-changing. Just that. And that's so simple. That's so simple. And the thing is, if I can do it, you can all do it. Absolutely, you can all do it. So open up to the ideas and set the vision. What lies before you and what lies behind you are tiny matters compared to what lies within you. And it's true. So there's a science to creating a vision that will actually become a reality. And it's based, there's a lot of science when it comes to this area of life. And they've done a lot of research. So for 2 decades, they've observed high achievers, and they've really seen patterns. And one of the things they've seen as a pattern is how people set themselves up when it comes to turning these fantasies into reality. And one of the concepts that I learned from Bob Proctor, who I'm very grateful has taught me some really wise things over the years, was this whole concept of your type of goal. So if this is new for you, I'm going to explain it. If it's something that you've heard before, stay open to hearing it differently today. So your A-type goal is something that you know how to do. You've possibly done it before, and it can be something like the amount you know how to earn when we relate to money. Okay. Your B-type goal is something that you know you can do with a plan. It's still quite logical. It's not that inspiring. It's like, oh yeah, I could, if I do this step and that step and that step, the amount that you think you could earn. Like over the next 15 years, my trajectory is this amount each year, blah, blah, blah. Safe. Okay. That's fine. C-type goals is what you really, really want. That is the number one criteria. What is it that you really, really want? The key is that you've never done it before. It feels inspiring and it's life-changing. Okay. Now, don't set yourself up that it has to feel life-changing at the start, but it will change your life, because this is what C-type goals do. And it's going to involve you growing. It's like the amount you want to earn. So you don't know how to do that. You've never done it before. It feels inspiring. The question that you want to keep coming back to is, do you really, really want it? Okay. Now, you can have money and still be free. Just remember that. We have to remember at this point is that the majority of people don't live this life. So if you're looking around yourself for other people in your community that think this way, feel this way, live this way, you're really limiting your scope. Just look in the world, and then there'll be like 1 or 2 people that you can probably find that you relate to that live this way. So 1% of our population earns 96% of all the money being earned in the world. Now, sometimes this makes me feel gross. I have to say, I was in India for the start of COVID. I'm a very big, massive advocate in giving back to the community. And I spent 10 years of my life working in health. So I have a real social justice head on me, to be honest. So sometimes I feel really uncomfortable with the fact that only 1% of the population earns 96% of all the money in the world. But then I sat and thought with it, and I was like, it doesn't mean that other people can't. It just means that that's the way it currently is. So I wrote this little piece coming from that point of view. This is why I'm on a mission to have access to as much as possible so I can do the good that I want to do, right? Because the way I look at it is, if I don't have access, then I can't have the ripple effect that I want to have. Like if I didn't have access to money, I wouldn't have been able to put on this webinar to be able to help inspire you guys, to help expand your understanding, to then have the ripple effect of who you then come in contact with, right? The only way this can change is through global culture shifts in empowerment through education. We can't get there by being like, I don't want to earn money because only rich people are evil, or the 1%, they make all these terrible decisions about climate change. If we're not there, we can't make a difference. This is how I feel about it, right? So I'm like, how can we get more people who actually think about social change and the environment up there to have the impact? This is how we have to get there. That's how I see it. Through education, understanding, and application. Like air in the atmosphere, I can take my fill. So let's try this. Take in a big, full, deep breath. Fill up your lungs. Take a little bit more. And let it go. Okay. I can take my fill, even a little more. And there's still enough to go around. So I can take my fill, even a little more. And Rachel and Neve and I'm not sure what people's names are in those little boxes. Sorry. Maria, you all could take a breath and take a little bit more, and there was enough to go around. It's the same when it comes to money. Okay. That's a big shift for a lot of people to understand. When you want it and you have it, it doesn't mean that you're taking away from people who you're not. You actually have it now. You can do something with it. Lack for you does not mean more for them. I will have all the money. This is a funny one I always play with. I always say things like, I'll have all the money that other people don't want, so I can make a difference doing the things that other people can't do. Okay. And the only reason why people, if you're rejecting money and being like, I don't want it, it's limiting. Why? Why can't you have, like, if everything that you believe is true, if everything is possible in life, you are born with endless possibilities. If everything's possible, why can't you have both? The more good people that have money, the more good that can happen in the world. And that is significantly important for you guys to get your head around. Because a lot of you are being blocked because you're good people. But good people can do a lot of good with good money. Okay? So choose wisely. The people that you surround yourself with has such a massive impact. I just wanted to touch on that. Because often what happens sometimes on these sessions is we have a great time. We have a really, really great time. And this is why I've made the Facebook page. So if you're on Zoom and you're not on the Facebook page, but you want to get over there, feel free. It's in your emails that you've got from myself and Maddie over the last few days. But like we've created a community within Spritz Mindset that are like-minded people that think like this. Because what happens is you get all excited and then you go off and then you talk to like your partner or your coworkers. You're like, oh my God, I was on this webinar and it was like all about, I can earn anything. And people go, oh, and they just dump their limitations on you. And it can be a bit shaky. Like it's a bit like, oh, okay. Because you have to remember 99% of the world doesn't think like this. And that's why their results are the way that they are. So what I always come back to is I will take advice from people whose results I want to emulate. Simple as that. Do I have lots of friends and do I have lots of family that like I still value and love and have conversations with and like enjoy? Yes. But I'm not going and confining in them for guidance when it comes to certain things. Like, if people don't earn what I aspire to earn, then how can they guide me, right? They're only coming from as far as they can see. So I love and respect them, but just be careful the people's opinions that you seek. And while we are here together for these 3 days, let's utilize our community connectedness, okay? And we really can do that together. Okay, I just wanted to touch on that. So let's get into really what we're going to be doing today. And really, I'm definitely going to go over. So just letting you know, I'm just going to keep going because there's so much good stuff in this. I'm probably going to be an extra 15, 20 minutes. So stay here if you can. If you can't, that's fine, but you can listen back to the recording. So activate your imagination. This really takes a call to courage. But the beautiful thing about it is courage is contagious. So play with this idea, okay? Are you up for the challenge of being courageous? I know I certainly love the idea of it, okay? I'm a Leo. I think it's just embedded, but I think it's embedded in everybody, to be honest. Everything that's been created in the world was once an imagination in someone's mind. Before you can hold it in your hand, before you can experience it in your life, you first must get clear in your mind what it is that you want. And this is what today's wonderful invitation is. What do you really want? Okay. What do you really, really want? And I'm going to talk to you in a second. I'm breaking this down into two sides in more detail in a second to show you guys why there might be a slight limitation and what you can do to just start teasing yourself over the line of limitation. But these are the questions I want you to spend tonight reflecting on. How much do you want to have in your bank account? How much needs to be there for you to feel financially secure? How much do you want to earn? So that's two different questions. How much do you want to have in your bank account and how much do you want to have coming in? In detail, what would you do with this money? So this comes back to what Zoe and Natasha were saying around, I've always been taught, and was it Lois maybe? I've always been taught to pay the bills, but I've never been taught of what to do with everything with the rest, right? And the thing is, if we don't have prosperity thinking, if we don't have like an abundant fun experience with money, then it doesn't stay where it's not welcomed. It really doesn't. Okay. So what would you do in detail? Spend time spending it. So this is a really good exercise. I got given this exercise maybe a few years ago, where someone said to me, this was like, let's say it was probably 5 years ago, and someone said, how much you want to earn? And I was like, oh, if I could get my income to $20,000 a month, that would be amazing. And they were like, what would you do with it? And I was like, oh, I would do, and I was kind of like fumbling, like I would travel to this place and I would travel to that place. And they were like, no, imagine if there's actually $20,000 a month coming into your bank account. So it's $5,000 a week. Okay. And I want you to sit down with a piece of paper and a pen. And for some of you, that might be not nowhere near enough. That was a long time ago for me, but it was where I started. And I'm like, $5,000 a week. What am I going to actually spend it on? So it's like, okay, maybe you've got your mortgage repayments, maybe you've got like whatever it is, whatever payments you've got. But then you've got like, let's say you've got $3,000 left. I'm just playing with numbers right now. What would you do with $3,000 a week? And then you got like, then actually go, okay, well, maybe I'd buy a new wardrobe. How much is it for an image consultant? Oh, maybe that's going to cost you 30K. Okay, well, I give $1,000 a week to that. And then I do this. And I want you to actually spend the time spending the money. Not actually spending the money, but, deciding what you would do. And it's not long till you realize you kind of run out of things to buy unless you start being expansive. And then people say, oh, I don't want to be really materialistic. I'm not saying that you have to be materialistic at all. But what do you want to do with the money? Maybe it's donating it to charity. Maybe it's setting up a business. Maybe if it's funding, paying for your parents' mortgage. I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do. But the fact that you don't know is part of the limitation. So spending time spending it. How would this help you set up into blossoming more authentically? This whole, I have to be really honest with you guys, this whole 3-day masterclass started because me and Maddie had this conversation, and it was a conversation. Russell was talking about winning the lotto, winning $40 million. And I was like, $40 million, what would you do if you had $40 million? And it was funny. And the first thing that came to my mind, this is like really recent. The first thing that came to my mind, I was like, I wouldn't give a shit about Instagram anymore. And it was so funny. And I was like, oh my God, like, isn't that interesting? I wouldn't care. And so why do I care? And this is why this whole program has come together, because I realized, wow, even after all the work I've done, even the fact that I'm like really pretty comfortable, there's still that limitation. So how would you feel? What would you do differently to blossom into yourself? What are the like aha moments, like what I had with Instagram, that come to mind when you think about having as much money as you want in your bank account? And how would this change your life? Really worthwhile putting pen to paper with this one tonight. Okay. It will really help you. So we're going to play with this one at the moment, like right now, but I'm going to just leave you guys to this yourself. So the idea was that if you're earning your annual income in a month, okay, because this was one of the first things that I worked towards. I wanted to earn 6-figure months. Okay. So what would you actually do with this money? In detail, really think about what it would be. And we're going to do this right now, but we're not going to do it on the call right now. If you earned this amount of money, how would this change your life? So it's kind of similar to the slide before. Can you really follow your heart, do what you love, and earn whatever you want? Who thinks that you can? Do you think that you can? Or do you feel a bit more like, oh, I've had to work hard and not really be true to myself in order to earn money? Can you comment? Do you like the idea? Who likes the idea? Maybe that's easier. Who likes the idea of being able to bloom authentically and thrive financially? Yeah, I love the idea. Yeah. So good. So good. Yeah. It's such a huge one. And it's such a huge, dissatisfaction is cumulative. So over time, the more we're dissatisfied, it just builds up. And then suddenly you realize, why do I feel like I'm like I'm not motivated, I have no inspiration, I'm feeling totally disconnected from myself, because it's cumulative. And when we show up every day in a job that we don't love, and we feel like we're not being authentic to ourselves, or we're not being authentic in our relationships, and then suddenly we realize I have to leave that job, or I have to leave that relationship, it's because there's been so much accumulative dissatisfaction and disconnect from ourselves, right? So yeah, okay, everyone likes this idea. Great. What about over on Facebook? You guys are a bit quieter over there. So this is what I'm all about. So I couldn't finish today without talking about this, and getting you guys to just plant the seed that it's possible. So really looking at this integration. So the word integration comes from the Latin word root, which is the root of the word integrate. Integrate. Anyway, I'm not going to try to pronounce these things, which means to make whole. I'm not interested in you just earning money. I'm interested in you feeling alive and having your needs met in all areas. So our wholehearted self, okay? This is how we want to be showing up in the world. We're thinking and we have the intellect. We're feeling and we have an affect, and we're doing in our behavior. All aligns with our values, and we earn what we want. This is blooming authentically. So let's go a little bit deeper on this one. This for me is huge. So I want you guys to really get this. So if I've lost you, come back. And I don't mean back off Zoom. I just mean with your attention, okay? This is what we're talking about. And I'm going to explore this in way more detail over the coming few days. And we'll get into this as well. Like, the beautiful thing about the Q&A tomorrow night is any questions that are coming to mind for you, jot them down, because I'm going to explain to you how to get your questions to me. And tomorrow night, I'm going to be sitting upstairs by the fire, possibly going to have a wine, and we're just going to have a great chat and answer your questions on these topics. But this is really what we want to be realizing, is there's like an internal and an external. So imagining that like an avocado, this is how I like to describe it. You know, the seed of an avocado, I don't know if it's called a seed or a nut, or the center part, the brown part in the middle, the part that keeps it, you know, nice and fresh and green. Imagine that's the internal part, and then the external part is like the outside part, okay? When we live from external focus, okay, we live through our five senses. So it comes back to that piece where I showed you that we're looking at our bank account, and that's controlling everything. So our five senses are what we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, okay? Now, when we live with the external focus, it's like we're looking outside. It's like when we compare ourselves to Susie down the road, or we care what people think about us, okay? And we make decisions based on, oh, what's she going to think, or what's he going to think, or what's my partner going to think, or what's the family going to think. We're coming from an energy of fear and survival, okay? Now, our five senses have been helpful from an instinct point of view to keep us safe. But when it comes to being authentic in a world where we kind of are safe, thank God for most of us, it's not really helpful. And this also comes from an energy of control, like you must control it and you have to see it for it to be real, and competition. Now, some of you might think that you're not competitive, but there's an undertone in society that is competitive and wants to get one up on other people, especially when we live from this kind of external way. And it comes from lack of limitation. This is like the societal norm. Unfortunately, if you look at corporate culture in so many organizations, it's coming from this place. Show me your KPIs, show me what you're doing, show me, show me, show me, show me, show me. Fear, control, competition, lack, limitations. One side of the coin. On the other side of the coin, inside, internally, and this is within. This is why this whole journey is from the inside out, not from the outside in. So the internal focus, when we go within, this is where our authentic power is. This is where we have multiple senses. So we're multisensory, which means that as well as having the external that we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, we also have this internal guidance, which comes down to our intuition, our imagination, our focus, our perception, and our ability to think. From this energy, we can create, and it feels true, and we can trust it. Okay. And building this self-trust is going to be something I'm going to talk about over the next few days. This comes from an energy of love. So if you really think about two emotions on two sides of the spectrum, you've got love and fear. Okay. Fear is this external way and love is this internal way, and it's thriving. Like you feel alive when you live from this side. This is blooming authentically, and this is how you thrive financially. It comes from living from the inside out. And if you take nothing away from today, I really encourage you guys to just be checking in as the day unfolds. Where is the guiding system coming from? Is it from the inside or is it from the outside? And if it's from the outside, thank it, because it's kept you safe and it's got you to this point. But this might be the turning point, and you actually want to learn how to change the whole focus and go within. So learning to accumulate everything that you want from the inside out is the only way to create sustained, healthy wealth in your life. It is possible when you're open to understanding. And the thing is, for everybody who's here, the truth resonates with you. If you're on this call and you're like, oh yeah, I get it, like that feels, there's like a twinkle or a light bulb moment or something that you're like, I can feel the essence of this, I can feel the truth. That's the truth. That is the truth. Okay. You have to open up to understand. You have to expand your education and develop your self-trust. Trust that little internal compass that's guiding you. You're not here by accident at all. None of you. Okay. Even if your sister invited you, even if your friend invited you, it's all on purpose. Even if you just found us randomly in the middle of, like, I've had so many people who've come to work with me who've been like, I just was like on Facebook and you popped up, or, you know, I've got a friend and she shared something that you did and I don't even know how I'm here, but oh my God, it's what I needed. That is all on purpose. Because really what we're looking to do is create an absolute cultural paradigm shift where we see sustained and true wealth. Period. And just remembering 96 to 98% of the population don't live this way. Okay. So are you willing to be in the 2 to 4%? And what this takes, number one, all my beautiful Irish people, you have to be willing to entertain the idea. And I know it's just not an Irish thing either, by the way, but it's just something that I feel is overly emphasized in our world. You have to be willing to change your relationship to how much you let what other people think of you control. But are you willing? Who's willing to be in the 2 to 4%? Like, who likes the idea of that? Or do people want to kind of stay? Is comfortable more important than courage? Who wants to be in 2 to 4%? Who wants to come join me? It's really fun. It's really, really fun, honestly. Yeah, great. Great. Yay. What about on Facebook? Anne? I can see you're there. Charlene? Who's coming to join me? Okay. So are you willing to be brave? I love this idea. Are you going to be a new idea hero? A change maker? This is the moment where you decide. You don't need to know how, but the first step is expanding your understanding and starting to think and feel into, maybe it's possible. So we want to look at defining, deciding, and committing. Okay. You're all capable of this, by the way. So it doesn't matter what your life has been like beforehand. It doesn't matter how little education you've had or little life experience you've had, or maybe you've had all this education and all this life experience. You're all capable of doing this. Okay. You just have to make a decision to keep showing up and it will happen. This is the thing. It absolutely will happen. So we're nearly there. Wanting more is a sign of growth. You know, in society, we suppress the idea of wanting more and we say, oh, you know, don't be so greedy. Don't get too big for your boots. All of this kind of stuff. But wanting more is a sign of growth. It's like an expansion. It means that you're no longer willing to play small. It means you're stepping out to be unapologetic about your desires. You're here to live and you're here to grow and you're here to be expansive and you're here for more. That's what we're here to do. The key undertone of everything that we're doing in life is to evolve. That's why we're here. So it means you're ready to rise up and welcome the greatness of who you are. I love that one. So this is your little evening reflection as the day goes through. It's in your workbook. So if you haven't had a chance to write these down, don't worry. It's in your emails. Okay. to really explore and ask yourself these questions and bring what's coming up for you to tomorrow's call. Okay, so have fun with this. Know that what connects you with the feeling of love is closest to what your spirit is seeking, or that internal version of you is speaking. What is based on fear is what ego is seeking, or is what the external world is putting on you. Okay, for this exercise, see where love can take you. You do not need to know how at this stage at all. And actually, if you do know how, you're aiming too small. So stretch yourself. And even for those of you who are here that are my clients, do this exercise from the energy of this call. Let's see where it takes you. That is the fun of tomorrow and the next day. We get to bring all this alive. Spend the time exploring these questions as you go about your day to day, and put pen to paper. You'll be surprised at what comes flooding. Now, if you found today helpful, first of all, I want to say a massive thank you for being here. It's been an honor and a privilege to have every single one of your minds here and your attention. I really appreciate it. But maybe there's some people that you know that could benefit from a bit more of this. So if there is anyone and you think, oh, there's going to be a 7-day replay, they can still register. And there'll be an email going out where you can still send them the link, or you can go back to the email that you've been sent, many of them from us, to check the link and send it to them and get them to come along. I mean, what's the harm? It's free. They might enjoy it and they might just learn something. Okay, there's still a chance. Stretch, have fun, and submit any questions. So for those of you who are like, oh, I've got a question and I really want to ask it, submit your questions to hello@spritzmindset.com. It's really easy to remember. hello@spritzmindset.com. That is going to be submitted to Maddie. We're going to accumulate the questions for tomorrow night, and then I'll have them ready to go for tomorrow night. If you're on Instagram, feel free to share anything that you've taken away from today's masterclass over there. That's how we spread the word further and help more people. And without further ado, thank you for your patience. I know we went a bit over 17 minutes, but I think it was worth it. I didn't want to leave you guys hanging with the rest of the stuff that I didn't get a chance to do. So have some fun with this. Thanks again for absolutely everything, and for showing up and for seeing all your wonderful faces. It's so good. It's so good to have you here. And tomorrow, maybe if you feel brave, maybe you can turn on your camera. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow morning, same time, different topic, but well done. It's been really, really fabulous. Thank you, everybody. You're welcome. See you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. See ya. Bye-bye.